Happy Friday, everybody. I hope you had a good week. Once again, it's been a wild ride week. Today is October 7, 2022, and this is your Friday planning video. Important notices: the next 2 weeks, there are Jewish holidays on Mondays and Tuesdays, so if you need anything, Rebecca will be in the office, but I will not be available on those days. I am sorry about that. From a market update video standpoint, the Monday videos will be out on Wednesdays for the next 2 weeks. Sorry about the delay on that. Today I want to frame our planning strategy as we enter Q4 and go over some special updates. Let's start with some special updates. Let's hit the student loan debt relief update. Nothing major to report. According to the update I received this week from the Department of Education, they're still planning to open the application window later this month. They sent out a message this week warning people about scams and fraud. Interesting warning coming from a government agency, no? Seriously though, we know that according to many reports, the PPP loan program and so many of the other government programs during the pandemic brought out the bad actors, as if we needed more of them. Suffice it to say, all of the online and phone security that you've been using, double it. Don't pay anyone who contacts you with promises of debt relief. You do not need to pay anyone or anything to get the debt relief if you qualify. Don't share your ID or your password to anyone who contacts you. No one from the Department of Education is going to call you or email you for this information. I hope that those are the obvious ones, the more specific ones. Don't refinance your current loans unless you know the risks. If you move your eligible loan to a private loan, you may lose out on the relief or the flexible payment plan. Finally, for this one, be sure that your current loan providers have your current contact information. Remember, this is very important. Okay, moving on. The past few weeks I've been sharing some concrete ideas on what we'll need to explore for you and your financial plans as we come to the end of the year. I'll be reviewing these and bringing you more as Q4 progresses. Today, I just want to talk about the other side of the planning process. There's a saying that goes that the market is 95% psychological and only about 5% logical. This is a good one to keep in mind as we've seen a year that has been difficult to say the least. I continue to work on the video that will come out with some information to give you more perspective on things, but in the meantime I want to go over some background to the planning that we'll work with you on as we meet in the coming months. As you all know, I have opinions of what this market will do. I share those with you often. I do more of that on the Monday video, but overall I reserve that for the one-on-one conversation because it means something different to each of you. We don't know much, but what we do know is that as convinced as any of us may be in the direction of these markets, in the short term, there's no sure thing. For proof of this will be the range of the year-end forecast where the S&P 500 will end 2022. Across Wall Street firms, the forecasts are as low as 3,600 and as high as 4,800, a 1,200-point S&P 500 difference. And these are supposed to be the smart people. Let's start with that. We don't know where the S&P 500 will end 2022. We have to accept that. Again, yes, I have my opinions, just like a dozen Wall Street analysts, and it is even possible that one of us are going to be correct. Once we accept that, as I've been talking about for years now, it's time to evaluate your goals, and we can determine the probability of you making those goals. The evaluation process today is much different than it's been the past 10 years, but no different that I've been telling you about for at least that long. Not on these videos, of course, but in the past nearly 30 years in the business, this is what we talk about so often. Evaluate what you need to do to reach those goals. The story is told. 2 people get on planes in Chicago headed to New York. One plane is delayed on the ground for about 45 minutes. Finally it takes off, levels at 35,000 feet, has a smooth ride, lands safely in New York. Due to headwinds, it's about 90 minutes late, past its estimated time, and the gate's being occupied. Sounds too familiar, right? Once the passengers from this plane disembark, they're beat, but they splash some water in their face, grab their rental car, and go on their way. The second person gets on their plane in Chicago and are number 1 for takeoff, have a bumpy takeoff, and they make their way to cruising altitude. Once there, they catch a tailwind and are ahead of schedule. The tailwind does put them into some tough weather. We all know how this goes. The turbulence is enough to shake the most experienced traveler. I don't need to go into the details. You all know the flight I'm talking about. This flight lands early to a roar of applause from the passengers, finds its gate clear, and the people scurry off the plane and could not be happier to be at their destination safe and sound, even after a rough ride. I'm sure you can imagine where I'm going here. No, I'm not wishing any of us that bumpy ride. But as you all know by now, this is the market. Actually, this is all of the markets. Stocks, bonds, commodities. If you're invested long enough, you have come to know that these markets happen. They're hard to stomach, and you hate them when you're in them. I know I do. But like the plane that hits all the turbulence, our desire to get from point A to point B is the goal that we have in mind. Some of us would exchange that late plane that is smooth for the on-time arrival. That's one plan. Let's discuss that, and if you can reach your goals with that, then that plan is for you. For many of you, you know that the space between point A and point B is just the journey. If you sleep well on planes, you may not have even noticed the turbulence. No, I'm not suggesting we sleep through this. As you've heard from me for at least the past few weeks, it's time to check in, make necessary adjustments, and be sure your plan is in place and in line with your goals. This is that bumpy ride. We can hate it. Again, I know I do. But know that there is opportunity in every ride. The quote goes, "Life's not about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning to dance in the rain." As you know, I don't make light of any of the work that I do. I consider the trust you put in me sacred. I have often told you that I feel I manage the third most precious asset in most people's lives, behind their health and their family. At times like this, it's hard to watch, I know, but it's important to discuss if your plan needs to be adjusted or just make some year-end changes. Please stay in touch. As we come into the fourth quarter, let's talk about your plan and your goals and what flight we're on. This is about the destination, but the journey is the only way to get there. So remember, the market updates for next 2 weeks will be on Wednesday. Have a great weekend.